Hello everyone, my name is Miss Hannah and I want to welcome you to K-5 Adventures in 3, 2, 1. Today we are going to be learning 3 new facts. We're going to do 2 activities that you can try at home and we're going to read 1 book together. Today we are going to be learning all about the history of everyone's favorite frozen summer treat, the popsicle. So first let's talk about our 3 new facts that we're going to learn today. So our first fun fact is actually a question. I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to think about it in your brain. So my question is, what do you think the most popular popsicle flavor is? Think about it for a second. What do you think it could be? The flavor that most people love. Well, I'm going to tell you. The most popular popsicle flavor is cherry. It is so many people's favorite flavor. It's so well loved that we actually have a holiday for cherry popsicles. Every year on August 26th, we can celebrate National Cherry Popsicle Day. It's pretty awesome. So for our second fun fact today, I want to share with you something pretty cool about the word popsicle. So in the United States, we call frozen fruit juice on a stick a popsicle. But in other parts of the world, people have different names for the popsicle. In England, a lot of people call them ice lollies. In Australia, a lot of people call them ice blocks. And in the Philippines, people call them ice drops. It's pretty awesome that even though we all enjoy the same frozen treat, people have different names for it. And later, I'm going to tell you where the word popsicle came from. So for our third and final fun fact of the day, I want to ask you a true or false question. So I'm going to make a statement and I want you to think in your brain about whether it is true or false. So if you think that it's true, I want you to give me a thumbs up. And if you think that it's false, I want you to give me a thumbs down. You ready? Here's my statement. The popsicle was invented by a kid. Do you think that that is true? Or do you think that it is false? Well, the answer is, it's true. The popsicle was invented by an 11-year-old boy named Frank Epperson in the year 1905, so over 100 years ago. And we are actually now going to read our book together. And it is a biography about Frank Epperson. This book is called The Boy Who Invented the Popsicle, the cool science behind Frank Epperson's famous frozen treat. Do you know what a biography is? A biography is a type of book that is true, and it's about a real famous person. So a biography is nonfiction. It's a true story. So we're going to be reading about real people and real events. You can actually find all kinds of biographies in our digital library online. So if you have a phone or a tablet or a computer at your house, you can go online to our website and access our digital library there. You can find biographies about all kinds of people like actors, entertainers, leaders, artists, and more. Let's read our book together. Frank William Epperson knew what he wanted to be when he grew up. And everyone in Frank's family knew too, because in case they forgot, he reminded them often. He's saying, I want to be a great inventor. When not busy with his schoolwork or chores, Frank could be found adventuring with his brother Cray, practicing his cornet, which is kind of like a trumpet, or learning magic tricks. He also pondered important questions. Do ants have ears? Do goldfish sleep? Do woodpeckers get headaches from pecking all day? But Frank's favorite pastime or hobby, something that he liked to do, was inventing. And to invent, Frank knew he had to experiment. So off he would go to his laboratory, the back porch. There he doodled and designed, tinkered and tested, analyzed and scrutinized. That means he was thinking really hard about the problems he was trying to solve. By the time Frank was 10 years old, he had already masterminded his first invention, a hand car with 2 handles. At twice the speed of a regular one-handled hand car, Frank whizzed down the streets of his neighborhood. Frank also experimented with liquids. Now, friends, I want to tell you something pretty cool about this book. It includes science experiments that you can try at home. I'm not going to be reading these today, but if you ever check this book out from the library, you can take a look at those. But what Frank loved most was experimenting with flavored soda waters, the kind that hissed and wheezed when he held a glassful to his ear and sent tangy bubbles galloping across his tongue with every gulp. Frank had his heart set on inventing the yummiest, most thirst-quenching, lip-smacking soda water drink ever. So off Frank would go to the corner store to buy the flavored soda water powders he needed for his experiments, often with his little brother Cray tagging along. Cray was a handy taster for Frank's concoctions. Some of his attempts were unsuccessful. You could even say they were disastrous. But Frank just kept on trying. One day, Frank and the other children in his neighborhood decided to build a miniature amusement park. There was a theater, a merry-go-round, and a scenic railway. Frank was assigned the soda water stand, which suited him just fine. He could share his soda water creations with all of his friends. It was also around this time that something peculiar, which means strange or odd, happened. The temperature dipped, then plunged, which means that it got really cold. This would not have been unusual had Frank lived in Canada or Idaho, where it could be bitterly cold in the winter. But he lived in San Francisco, California, where only rarely did the temperature drop below freezing. So Frank tried another experiment. He left a glass of flavored soda water outside overnight. Here he's thinking, I wonder what this drink will taste like frozen. Interesting idea. When he woke the next morning, Frank ran to his back porch to discover his soda water had frozen solid. He could no longer sip it, he had to lick it like a lollipop. Frank had invented a frozen drink on a stick. As he grew older, Frank's invention did not melt from his memory. He just tucked it away in a corner of his mind, and there it stayed while he and his sweetheart, Mary Frances, began raising their gaggle of children. But when Frank noticed more and more people eating chocolate-covered ice cream bars, off he went to his laboratory, now his garage, to experiment. Here he's thinking, could I make money with my frozen drink invention? What if I used fruit juice? Frank found a way to make many of his drinks on a stick at the same time, with test tubes to mold them, wooden sticks to hold them, and a cool way to freeze them. For Frank's drinks on a stick to freeze, they had to be cold, very cold, colder than 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the freezing point of water. Why? Because their ingredients, like sugar and flavoring, lowered their freezing point. So what did Frank do? He built a freezing box that held dozens of test tubes suspended in a mixture of crushed ice and salt. Frank knew that salt lowered the freezing point of water and that salty water froze at a much lower temperature than plain tap water. The salt and ice mixture would be colder than 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Frank's drinks on a stick also had to freeze quickly. If they froze too slowly, the sugar and flavoring, which were heavier than water, settled at the bottom of the test tube, leaving just flavorless frozen water at the top. Frank wanted his treats to have the same tasty flavor throughout. The salt and crushed ice mixture surrounding the test tubes was so cold, it froze the liquid inside the tubes in minutes. Frank named his invention the Popsicle because his last name was Epperson, and it kind of reminded him of an icicle, and began selling it for a nickel at county fairs and beaches. In the evenings, his children helped him roll the nickels he had earned. Frank had a clever way to encourage shop owners to sell his frozen treats. For several weeks in a row, he sent one of his children into a store to buy an Popsicle. Each week, the shop owner had to tell a different child that Popsicles were not sold in the store. Frank would then visit the store himself and ask the shop owner to stock his treats. Of course, the owner agreed after having so many requests. Frank's children were always keen or excited, happy to sample their father's confections. And with all of them excited for their Pop's tasty fabrications, in time, the name of Frank's invention changed to Pop, can we have a sickle? Orange is my favorite. The Popsicle. The end. Thank you so much for being such good listeners and reading that story with me. Now it's time for us to do 2 activities that you can try at home. So both of these activities are going to work best if you do them in the kitchen at your house, and they're also going to work best if you have an adult around to help. So our first activity over here is that we are going to be making lemon-flavored soda water, just like Frank Epperson did in the story that we read. So for our lemon-flavored soda water, here are the things that you will need. You're going to need 1 cup of water, 3 tablespoons of lemon juice, and if you don't have lemon juice at your house, you can try a different type of citrus fruit juice like orange juice, lime juice, or grapefruit juice. You're also going to need 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, 1 teaspoon of sugar, and then something to stir with like a straw or a spoon. Okay, so it's time to make our soda water. I'm so excited. So you're going to add to your 1 cup of water 3 tablespoons of lemon juice. Now it's time for the best part, so get excited. We're going to add our 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and you're going to see a chemical reaction. You ready? So after you add your baking soda, take your stirring device, give it a stir. See that fizz? Wow, that's so cool. So this is carbon dioxide created from the combination of the lemon juice and the baking soda. Amazing. Very cool. So now that we have our fizz, we're going to add a sweetener. So we're going to add some sugar. If you don't have sugar at your house, you could also use honey or agave. It's just something sweet. Let's give it another little stir. Now it's time to taste it. Delicious. I love it. Try this at home. It's so good. You can share it with everyone in your house. Okay, now it's time for our second activity. We are going to be making popsicles. So to make our popsicles, all we are going to need, we're going to need 1 glass of fruit juice. You can use any type of fruit juice that you have at your house. I'm using cranberry. You're also going to need a paper cup, a little bit of aluminum foil, and a craft stick. Now, if you don't have all of these things at your house, I have some ideas for different things that you could try. So if you don't have a paper cup at your house, but you do have plastic cups, you can use a plastic cup. I'll just explain later how that'll work a little bit differently than a paper cup. And if you don't have craft sticks at home, you could use a spoon from your kitchen. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to pour our fruit juice into our cup. Don't fill it all the way to the top, leave a little bit of room, just like that. Perfect. Okay, now we're going to take our tin foil and we're going to very carefully put it on top of the cup like this. Be careful so that it doesn't spill. Make sure that it's on there nice and tight. Now we're going to take our craft stick and we're going to put it through the tin foil kind of in the center of the cup. And we want to do this really carefully so that we don't tear the tin foil too much. So get it right in the center like that. You kind of have to get it started a little bit and then just slip it right in. Perfect. So it should kind of be balanced in the tin foil so that it's staying still. Now comes the hard part. You're gonna have to put this in the freezer and wait for at least 6 hours so that it will freeze. But don't worry, I have an idea for something that you can do while you're waiting. You can read a biography from our digital library. Okay, so this is going in the freezer for 6 hours, and in a second I'm gonna show you what the final product looks like. Okay, it's time for us to check on our popsicle. So when you take it out of the freezer, you're just gonna remove the tin foil like this, and then you're gonna be tearing the paper cup off of the popsicle to throw away. Now, if you used a plastic cup, you can just wait a few minutes for it to thaw a little bit, and then the popsicle should come right out. Or you could run the bottom of the cup under some warm water in the sink to kind of help the popsicle come out a little bit easier. So for this one, since it's paper, I am gonna be able to tear it off, just like this. And then the popsicle comes right out, and it's ready for you to enjoy. Thank you so much for joining me today for K-5 Adventures in 3, 2, 1. I had so much fun with you, and I hope that you had fun too. Remember, when we use our brains to explore and be creative, anything is popsicle. I'll see you later.